there's something wonderfully optimistic about British people and the weather. Not only do we talk about it, probably more than anything else, we also buy more convertibles than basically anywhere else in the world per head of population. And that might be a surprise to you that all assume that it's raining here all the time, but I guess we're all optimistic enough to want to be out with no roof when that day comes along. And what a fantastic day it is. It's a great fun experience, not just being able to get the roof down and have the wind in what's left of your hair, but also being able to get behind the wheel of a car that has a fine balance, agile handling, and can make you smile as soon as you find those S-bends. So today we're in a Mazda MX-5, a 1.5 SE, a 4th generation, or ND if you prefer. I'm Chris. Welcome to Karanga Cars. No one really talks about front mid-engined cars, but the engine in this MX-5 sits behind the front axle almost entirely. I think that's in part to do with pedestrian safety. When you open the bonnet, you see this whole area up front is basically void of anything. There's a radiator and then there's the crash impact zones. I think really that 50-50 weight distribution that Mazda have always been aiming for with this car is key, and of course that's what makes it handle so well. Front engine, rear wheel drive, and a gearbox right in the middle to create that perfect balance. The car is fun, it's playful, and it's quite pliable. Even on the limit, it's really progressive. It's not a car that's going to scare you. It's a car that anyone can drive. It's a car that's a really beautiful introduction into sports car ownership. So what's it like to drive then? Well, jump in, dip the clutch pedal, push that ever inviting start-stop button, and the engine bursts into life with a little rev. Engage first gear using this fantastic stumpy little gear shifter, and off we go. The gear shifter is perfectly placed, just one hand span away from the steering wheel, something I believe Colin Chapman of Lotus was a big advocate for. It means it's always right there when you need it. The ratios are great too. Drop a few cogs and the engine roars into life. It's a revvy little number. In fact, it loves to be revved all the way up to the red line. 1, 2, 3 and 4 are absolutely perfect for B-road blasts like this, whilst 5th and 6th quieten the engine down to such a point that you're not using too much fuel, the economy's good, and it's quite quiet too. Quite civilised even. Okay, it's not going to be as civilised as a hardtop car. The soft top has some insulation in it which does quieten things down a little bit, but it's never going to be as good as a hardtop car. But then again, on a day like this, a hardtop car is nowhere near as good as the soft top car, and that's a compromise I'm always willing to take. Once you've driven a convertible, it's hard to imagine ever going back to a hardtop or a coupe again, certainly in my opinion. So let's get back to that driving experience. Well, again, the gear knob is exactly where you want it. The shift between gears is so positive, and the engine is so willing in any gear. Performance is adequate. Probably not much more I can say about it than that, as you can imagine, with a car that's barely got 130 horsepower. But personally, I think that makes it more fun. It means that you can have fun in the car. It means that you can put your foot to the floor every now and again, and it means that you're not at license losing speeds. And in the bends, well, it does exactly what you expect it to do. It feels like you're right in the middle of the car. It feels like the car is pivoting around you, which is what you want it to do. It's a little bit lacking in feel, and that's because for this 4th generation, Mazda moved away from hydraulic power assisted steering onto electronic. Is it a bad thing? I don't think it's a game breaker personally. I think there's enough feel there that it's still good. It's not going to give you that response you expect from a hydraulic system of old. It also means the car is more inviting to people that perhaps are more used to modern hatchbacks, for people that want to take that step into owning a sports car. And the MX-5 always has to play that role. So it's an entry-level sports car, right? Everything's dulled down, there's no feeling in the steering, it doesn't have much power. Well, I don't think so. I think it's a quintessential sports car. I think it's a classic roadster of old. I think it follows on from things like the MGB and the Lotus Elan and all of those cars that existed to get people out and enjoying the roads. I think it's a perfect successor to all the other MX-5s. It's a car that very, very few manufacturers make these days, a sports car, and it's a convertible too. Your choices are always limited when it comes to cars like this, and for me personally, I think it's great to know that despite those limitations, even an entry-level car like this, the one that everyone buys, is absolutely fantastic to drive. What about equipment? Well, this is a 1.5 SE, as I mentioned, a base model car, so the specification perhaps isn't what you've got in your luxury car or even your hatchback. We've got electric mirrors and windows, we've got remote central locking, and when the roof's up and it's a little bit too hot, you've got air conditioning to help you with demisting, and the heater's pretty good too, perhaps because the cabin's so small. Equipment wise, there's no sat nav, there's no CarPlay, there's no Android Auto, but it does have a CD player, remember those? And for some reason it's behind you, but that's just the place where you put in the CD. It's controlled through a simple traditional looking stereo or using the conveniently located steering wheel buttons. If you move up away from the base model, then the screen gets bigger, I think like maybe twice the size. And you also get a BMW iDrive like joystick down here by the gear stick. It will play audio from an USB stick as well, which is my preference. Load some music into the car and it's always there, no worrying about not having signal on your phone or not having your latest albums downloaded or whatever. The USB stick is located right in front of you here, although it does take away that one port where you can charge your phone from. I think later cars might have two ports there, but this one only has the one and an auxiliary port, so you can plug your phone in using a cable too. Other things of note, I guess, it's probably not that big a thing, but I really love these little ball vents. I mean, who doesn't like a little circular vent with a twisty knob in the middle to open and close it? It's a classic design, it looks fantastic, it's so simple to use. I mean, it probably sounds really silly, but I love little touches like that. And the gauges in front of you, well, immediately in front of my eyes, I've got a rev counter, the speedometer off to the right, and our fuel and temperature gauges to the left. And that rev counter is bigger than any other. Again, it's encouraging you to get out and drive the car as you watch that needle bouncing up and down with the revs. What a fantastic way to spend an afternoon. Wipers are 2-speed plus intermediate, and the intermediate has various different settings on them as well, so if you do happen to be caught in a rain shower, not only can you pull over and have the roof up in about 5 seconds, you can also have wipers doing exactly what you want them to do. The rear window in this car is glass and has heated rear elements in it, so if you're using it all year round and you get a bit of frost, that's not going to be a concern either. The roof, of course, is a soft top, which might give you some concerns, but it's also well insulated. So in the winter, believe me, the car still warms up pretty quickly. And what more is there to say? What more do you want from a car like this? Well balanced, great handling, responsive, revvy engine, and that encouragement, constant encouragement to just go out and drive. And of course, the feature of all features, the soft top. Wow, what a day. So maybe you want an MX-5. Well, what's the next steps? Well, I guess I could tell you about the costs for these particular cars. So these Generation 4 ND cars are still £30,000 new. They still make this car today, although I think it is due for a replacement. And if that replacement does come, then perhaps there'll be some good deals to be had. Second-hand prices start at about £7,500 for a high mileage Hero, but personally I'd spend a little bit more, maybe 10 to 12 to get one with more sensible miles that was made a little bit further on, so any initial niggles have been solved. If you're not sure about the soft top, then there is the ND fold-in hardtop version, which is maybe a couple of £1,000s more. Those do act a little bit more like Targas than soft tops, in that when the roof is down, the rear deck is not flat as it is in the convertible, but instead has these sort of fake bolsters coming out diagonally from behind you. Personally, I'm not so keen on the style, and I much prefer the soft top, and that would be the one for me. If the styling isn't for you, then you could look at Fiat's 124 Spider with its retro 70s inspired lines. It's a beautiful design, and it's based on this very car. Sure, it doesn't have the Skyactiv G engine, instead it has the 1.4 turbo that's famed from Fiat's 500 Abarth, but it still suits the car. Personally, I thought the turbo would have been a little bit lacking or maybe laggy for a car like this, but really these days it doesn't make too much difference at all. It's a good little unit that's torquey low down and suits the car perfectly well. If you want something a little bit more shouty, then there's the Abarth 124. Not only is it the most powerful stock version of any MX-5 derivative, it's the loudest too. And I mean, in terms of the standard exhaust, which for a little 4-pot engine is really surprising, but also in terms of appearance, especially if you can find a Heritage Pack car with a black bonnet up front and a boot lid behind. Ones to avoid, for me, anything that isn't a manual gearbox. For me, the manual gearbox makes it. That Abarth that we just mentioned comes with a flappy paddle box, and it really doesn't suit the car at all. The shifts felt a little bit sluggish. I could never decide whether I was in gear or not, and it always left in the back of my head that little bit of doubt. I felt disconnected from the car, and as I say, if you want an MX-5, the gearbox is one of those things that you absolutely must have. And maybe you can't stretch to the numbers required for an ND. Maybe you're looking for your first sports car and you only have a few £1,000s to play with. Well, luckily there are 3 previous generations of MX-5 waiting there for you. The NA, the original, with its Lotus Elan inspired styling, pop-up lights, those fantastic little door handles. For me, it's the prettiest of all the variants. They're getting older now, so do watch out for rust, especially in the sills. The NB, the 2nd generation car, it's basically the same underneath as the Mark 1, so again, keep an eye out for the old ferrous oxide. It drives just as sharp as that too, but it loses the pop-up lights, and the styling for me isn't quite as sharp. It's not quite as classic as that Mark 1 is. And then the NC, 3rd generation. For me, that's where the bargains lie these days. Often overlooked, but at the end of the day, it's still an MX-5. It's still a fantastic sports car. It's still got that lightweight, agile handling experience with no roof that you expect, and of course it has the introduction of the folding hardtop too. Whichever MX-5 you go for, I'm sure you're going to absolutely adore it, just as I do with this one. Let's talk about why this video is number one. Well, this is the first video that I have made for YouTube, and really I just felt like I needed something new to do. I love learning new things, I love getting out and driving cars, and I found, especially post-COVID and working from home, that I was getting out in cars less, I was driving less, and I perhaps wasn't enjoying it quite as much as I should be. So I thought, let's combine driving with another hobby. I always enjoyed a little bit of photography, though I never took it too seriously, and I thought, videography, well, let's give that a shot. Traditionally, I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm not really the kind of person that would put myself on camera. In fact, I've spent most of my life hiding at the back when people are taking photographs. So putting myself on a camera and talking to it and you there as well is not really something that I do all that naturally. But I like to challenge myself. And why not challenge myself with something that's actually completely out of my comfort zone, but combining it with something that I really enjoy. And on a beautiful summer's day like this, with the sun shining down and through this convertible roof, what more can I ask for? The scenery is beautiful, the car's sublime, and I'm having a great time. Lovely person letting me past there as I was sitting behind them. And the car sliding around a little bit on that grit. Yeah, so getting back to it, this is for me. It's not for anyone else, it's just for me. And if I can bring others along that will enjoy this journey with me, then that's even better. That to me is a wonderful thing. But as I say, this is for me. It's to challenge me, it's to learn new skills, it's to develop away from my introvert nature and be able to not just be on camera, but look at the camera and talk to the camera and know that I'm not going to feel too embarrassed. I'm not going to have all of those traits that my old self would have. And I have no expectations. I don't think it's necessarily going to do well. I don't really care. This is about me, as I say. I want to do things to the best of my ability. I want to learn new skills, and videography is one of those skills. Maybe we should talk a little bit about practicality. Well, obviously it's never going to be the most practical of cars. There's only 2 seats in here. The boot's big enough for maybe a week's shopping, and there's plenty of room in the passenger footwell, I guess, if you only have yourself. Reliability is fantastic, as you'd expect. The build quality in here is decent. It's good. It's maybe not exactly what you'd expect from a Japanese car, but I think when people talk about Japanese cars and build quality, really they're talking about the Hondas and the Toyotas of this world. Mazda, of course, aren't Honda or Toyota, and whilst the car is not in any way, shape or form poorly built, it's not quite up to the same standards that you'd expect from those manufacturers. Plastics are hard wearing and not soft to the touch, but there are nice little touches like these silver plastic elements brightening things up a little bit, and those fantastic dials in front of us with the 3 silver binnacles staring at us. Of course, the touch points, the steering wheel is leather, you feel the stitching below, which I always think is a nice touch, and the gear knob is exactly the same, matching in with this nice red stitching. The doors on this model, again a little bit plasticky, and we've got this kind of strange false carbon fibre effect going on the pull handles themselves. I don't necessarily think it makes it any worse. If anything, maybe if you get caught in a little shower, it means you're not going to worry about the interior too much. And let's face it, a hard-wearing interior is not necessarily a bad thing. The seats, well, they hold you exactly where you want to be, which is definitely no bad thing. They're great as you push on a country road, and they're comfy if you're just cruising around in town. We've got decent adjustability, although for someone my height, maybe I should take that back. I'm about 6 foot, and really this seat's as far back as it could possibly go. I've got ample leg room, I fit perfectly happily, but I think anyone a bit taller than me probably isn't going to. The seat's almost up against the bulkhead, which I guess isn't really ideal. My eye line, however, is right in the middle of this windshield, absolutely perfect. So I'm not really sure who Mazda designed this for. The seat has some strange adjustability that allows you to raise the portion just under your thighs on the driver's side, which I don't really understand. So I don't know why it's there. It doesn't really add anything for me to the car, but you can do it if you like. I guess maybe it's supposed to mimic a bucket seat a little bit more, but that bucket seat approach, I don't know, it doesn't work for me. Visibility with the roof down, of course, is absolutely phenomenal, because, well, there's not really much to see car-wise. There's just openness. With the roof up, the rear quarters gets a little bit blind, so do be prepared to sit forward in the seat a little bit so you can see around those. Mirror-wise, it's a small car. You can line up the mirrors perfectly to just see a tiny bit of that kind of flared side, to see if there's anyone overtaken. And of course it's a small car, so on narrow country lanes it's absolutely ideal. And it's relatively soft too. It's not a bone shaker of a sports car. It's designed to please, it's designed to do what you want it to do. I've driven much harsher cars, and I don't think this necessarily suffers from being softer. I think the philosophy of big wheels, skinny rubber band, low profile tyres and rock hard suspension is one that doesn't really help a car. I think you need that little bit of subtlety. Realistically, you want the wheels to stay in contact with the tarmac as much as they possibly can, and I think this car balances out perfectly the body roll, the lean, the performance of the suspension and the handling. What a combination. So if you're thinking about an MX-5, I say go for it. Find one with the right specification and colour. I like this ceramic metallic colour here. Mazda call it silver, but as you can see it's more of a grey colour. Soul red is a popular colour. I think probably looks much better than any other colour, but apparently the paint could be quite thin and getting repair work done could be problematic. Black is ever popular, white seems to be all over the place, and there is a blue available too. Or maybe you can find an anniversary car in bright orange. If you're thinking about it, don't hesitate, go out and test drive one. I think you'll find it does exactly what you want. No frills, full experience, wind in the hair. I guarantee you will love this car. And if you don't, well, there's always going to be demand. Sell it on and move on to something else. These are fantastic little cars. You're always going to find someone that wants to buy one. So there you have it. If you've enjoyed this video, then, well, yeah, it's always cliched and horrible and no one likes it, but do hit the like button, do hit the subscribe button, leave me some comments down below, because that will help me to learn. That will help me on my journey and making myself a better videographer, a more confident person on camera, and it will help you to perhaps get some more content that you're interested in. Who knows? Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.